Hello everyone, welcome back to alkaline hydroxide 784. Today we will be flying straight into the travel series. I know, the travel series is pretty irrelevant right now because the school year is gonna start very soon and still no one can go anywhere. But hey, you can probably plan trips for when, this darn pandemic is brought to its knees. So it's good to get started now, right? So before you even do any searching for attractions or anything, you can just go straight into Google and start searching for stuff immediately. You need to know a few things before you start. So there's some very basic things that you have to decide so that things can go more smoothly. So you know what? Let me show you this document real quick. So here I have like a bunch of questions and stuff in this document, and I'll be going through these questions. You look at the document later with an example. But for now, let's go through the questions real quick and spend a bit of time on the considerations also. So we have 5 different questions, and these questions kind of rely on each other as well. And I did cover them a little bit in episode 0 about traveling locally, so you probably understand these questions a bit better now. So these questions are when you want to go, how do you want to go, where you want to go, who you want to go with, and why you're going. So these are the 5 questions. As once again, it's basically the 5 question words plus you want to go in a sense. So yeah, where do we start? How do we consider what do we consider when you're answering these questions? Well, it is especially important to answer the last question, which is why you're going, as well as consider your budget, like how much you want to pay for the trip. This sets the tone for the other questions in a way. And the last question basically asks for your purpose, the purpose for going. It doesn't have to be very meaningful or anything. It can be something like, oh, finally, 2020 is over and hopefully everything else will be better, right? So I want a trip somewhere to celebrate this. AKA, you want like a vacation or something. Or it could be other things like business trips, exchange, visiting your family, or anything really. Once you know the purpose of the trip, and of course, in reality, there can be more than one purpose. Maybe you want to visit your family, but you also want to have a few days to go around your homeland or something, do a little vacation there. Maybe find places that you've not seen before because you spend a lot of time here in Singapore. Maybe you want to see a different place. I don't know. That's the thing. Then you can have more than one purpose. You never really have a trip with just one purpose unless you do have trips with just one purpose, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure a lot of you will have more than one reason for going to a place. And yeah, so once you figure that out, you need to now figure out the budget because I'm pretty sure in 2020 a lot of people might have lost their jobs, or maybe even if they didn't lose their job, maybe they have lesser money to use and things like that. But at the same time, they still want to go somewhere. They may have a budget or something, or if you actually do have a lot of money, then I guess it's not a big deal. But and it also depends on the person. Some people prefer to have a budget even before they start, and some people prefer to just have like what is too much, kind of like what's the limit, and then just continually check as they are going through their planning and booking everything. They check whether they've exceeded the limit. So that's basically how the budgeting can work. So for me, in terms of the previous trips, I would usually just ask my dad if everything's okay with the expenses, and he's usually okay with it. So I don't really keep like a specific budget or anything. So yeah, this depends on the person. So you can either determine it right at the start or just keep like just keep it in mind as you're planning and see if there's anything that could be too expensive or something like that you need to remove. Yeah, so that's the second thing. So after you got those two things settled, answer the rest of the questions. So it would be helpful to determine early on who is going with you, especially if you're not like going with your family or something. If you're going with your family, I think it's pretty obvious who is going with you. But if you're going with your friends or someone else, there's a lot more chance of them suddenly canceling on you. So yeah, you might want to make sure that they're actually going on the trip at that particular time that you're going. And the other reason to determine who is going will also help you figure out what you should plan. Like you'll be experiencing the trip along with you. If you're going alone, you can plan the trip however you want, and you'll be fine with it. But if you're planning for a group of people, you need to consider what everyone else wants to. And yeah, for example, as much as you want to visit all the museums in town, not everyone might be on board with that. No, yeah, like seriously. Maybe they want to go see some theme park, or like just go to a theme park and have fun, or they don't even want to go anywhere, just sit in a hotel the whole day. So you need to know how people are when they're on a trip. So apart from the from whoever is going, you can now consider the location and timing. So a lot of things influence this decision. The primary one being that you want to go to that place, because let's say if you want to go somewhere, then you are more likely to go to that place, like plan to go to a place. If you don't really want to go to a certain country, you wouldn't even think about it on your list. So that's the idea lah. Or it could be something that one of the people who are traveling with you, like someone in the group actually wants to go there and you want to give them a surprise or something like that. So that could be the main reason. And the other reason would be, like, the other factor to consider would probably be the budget. If you don't have a high budget, then you should consider going to Southeast Asian countries, because generally there's a lot of stuff that you can go that's really cheap in in terms of the attractions as well. There's a lot of not really just museums, but they're still quite interesting historical places. Yeah, so if you're into that kind of stuff, then you can actually go to some of the Southeast Asian cities and do things there for a lot lesser money than if you go somewhere really far away. Anyways, so that also determines where you go. And for the timing, I guess it's pretty obvious. When everyone is free, when there's no pandemic or existential crisis to worry about. Of course, caveat, it is technically possible to go somewhere during a disease outbreak. As you can see, not like flights have completely stopped. There are still people going to different places. But actually, this is quite extreme. But in a normal circumstance, if there's a vaccine, you can just get the vaccine and go to some place. So, for example, when I planned like a trip to Australia, I'm not sure if it's 2010. It could be earlier. I think it's 2010. Or is it 2008? Oh, it's 20. Okay, I actually don't remember when. Oh no. Okay, when I went to Australia, there was the H1N1 thing going on. And we had to take the H1N1 vaccine, because otherwise you have to cancel like half of the trip, which really is a lot of money that went into that planning. So so we just got the vaccine instead, and we had to take some pills or something to prevent the disease from coming for like 10 days. And yeah, that's pretty much what we had to do. But if you're not into that, then maybe find a place that doesn't require you to get a vaccine. So yeah, speaking of disease outbreaks, either that or even some other crisis, like maybe a natural disaster or just a political problem or anything, actually could actually deter you from going to a certain place, and it may influence where you ultimately go to, especially if you have like more than one choice of location for the same timing, that is the same season and stuff like that. So for example, in 2018, yes, I'm aware that was my A levels year. What was I doing in 2018 going somewhere? Okay, so I wanted to go to Yogyakarta, which is in Indonesia, in the June holidays. But what happened at that time was there was a volcanic eruption, and luckily that happened before we planned, like actually booked anything. So good for us. And yeah, so we just changed plans to go to Chiang Mai instead, which is in Thailand, northern Thailand. And Chiang Mai is a nice place, but unfortunately the trip ended with me getting food poisoning. How fun. But okay, apart from that, it's a nice place. You should definitely go there one time. And it's also pretty cheap, I guess. Yeah, cool. So the location and timing may also influence each other. So for example, if your purpose of going to a place can also come into play here. So for example, if you want to go and see the auroras, which apparently a lot of people want to go and see, you would have to go at a specific timing to a specific place. And I have not seen any auroras before, so maybe I should do that sometime. when this all this is over, I guess. Or if you want to see a place in a certain season, which is usually the reason for determining both at the same time. For example, since we Singaporeans like to go to cold places, yeah, and for you would think, okay, the northern hemisphere is cooler at the end of the year, December, November, December, and the southern hemisphere would be the middle of the year, which is June, because that's the only time we have school holidays. But in a way, it may also make sense to not do that and then just go in the slightly warmer times. Either go in spring slash fall, which is cool but not too terribly cool, or even in the early summer. In fact, New Zealand is pretty good in December. It's summer, but it's still cooler than Singapore, so why not? So if you don't want to freeze and you don't like going to really really cold places, but you still want to go somewhere that's like 20 degrees, then you can go to New Zealand in December. And New Zealand is a really nice place. Or you can go to some areas in Southeast Asia as well, like the northern parts of Vietnam or even Chiang Mai. In the June time will actually be somewhat decently cool, but not super super cool, but decently cool. And it's just nice. It's not too terribly cold to the extent that you need to bring like double layers of whatever stuff that you need to keep cool, keep warm, I mean. Whereas if you go to somewhere like China or Japan, oh my god, it can be quite cold after some time. So if you want, you can actually go there a little bit earlier and not super late into winter. Go there in the fall time instead. So for Japan, I think September, November is okay. Likewise for China. Although China is like just cold and anytime. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah. Right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Of course, I'm kind of making all of this sound like a lot of work. In fact, it's already 12 minutes and I'm still not done with the video for some reason. But in reality, you may already have all of this stuff in your head. Like you'll be just thinking about it as you go on your trip to work, dreading your Monday morning, and you're like, okay, I wish I could go to this place. You'll be thinking about it for ages and for ages, but you just can't go anywhere. So you just need to like extract the information and make it more concrete, like make it confirmed information so that you can continue with the rest of your planning. So yeah, once you decide when and where, you need to then decide how to get there, which is pretty much the last piece of the puzzle in a sense. And yeah, it's usually by flight. So there you go, I answered your questions. Yeah, okay, okay. I'm just kidding. For Malaysia, you don't really use a flight usually. You usually go by car or bus, or you might even go on a flight if you're going a little bit further north, or if you're going to Penang, then you have to go in a flight. Or for some places in Indonesia, you could take a flight, or you can even take a boat. If you go to Batam or Bintan, it's faster to just go in a boat. And if you're a biker whose whole purpose is to show how far you is to show how far you can get in a motorbike, then of course it would be a motorbike. Yeah, I apologize for that terrible sentence pausing in the middle. So yeah, that was probably the easiest question to answer here. So for some reason I wrote a script, but I still cannot read the script properly. What is wrong with me? So once you decide all of these details and you're sure that there won't be any changes to the plan, be sure to book your flights and maybe even the hotels if you already know which cities you're going to. Because sometimes you decide the country before you even decide which city to go to. And the reason why I say decide which city is because sometimes you may not really want to go to the capital city. It's possible, like maybe you prefer a different city to go to. So you have to decide that early on as well. If you are planning to go to multiple cities as well, you need to know which cities you're going to and book the hotels accordingly. And yeah, if you're worried about booking the hotel before you even start planning, because you'd prefer your hotel to be nearby your attractions or the restaurants you're going to, well, there's one thing you can do, which is to just get a normal sensing of where the attractions are generally, and also based on how you would behave, like what kind of person you are, whether you like to go to a small city-ish attractions or to keep going further out into the wilderness or something. then you can plan where your hotel will be accordingly, or you can put it near wherever your preferred restaurants are. So if you have any dietary restrictions and you notice there's a lot of restaurants that cater to you in a specific location, then keep your hotel there because it may make it easier for you to go and eat. Yeah. So it's okay, you can actually book your hotel first if you need to. And yeah, speaking of that, in episode 2, we will be looking at the lowdown on booking your flights slash other transport and hotels, and what you can consider in doing so. That will be in the next episode. So now to wrap things up, we'll go to the document and look at an example. Alright, so you're here in the document now, and we need to choose a location and all of these questions, I guess. Answer all of the questions. So first off, we need to choose a purpose. So why are we going? And for that, maybe we'll just be quick. We'll just say, okay, location. Yeah, that's easy to answer. So next, you'd want to answer. You probably may want to tell your budget if you can tell it. Let's be very random about it and say 100 per person per day. Yeah. And then the next one is who are going for this, like the people who are going. And let's say if I'm going somewhere, I would probably go with my family. So okay, so that's pretty easy. Okay, usually this is probably the hardest question if you're not going with your families per se, but more with your friends, because some people may not be very sure if they can go with you or not. So yeah, but I'm just gonna make it quick so that I can go to the other questions. So next, we want to see where and when. Where and when. So if, let's say, we first have to consider the when, and since now it is 2021, actually I'm doing this on New Year's Day, but the video will be a bit later than that, but you get the point. We would know that the vaccine is coming soon, but at the same time there's a new strain and stuff. So what would be the most reasonable time? Maybe the second half of 2021, or maybe even December 2021. So if we want to go somewhere in December 2021, where would you go? Well, we could probably go to either the southern hemisphere, because I actually do not like to go to very, very cold places, especially if it's December already. If I go to somewhere, it will in the northern hemisphere be way too cold. So maybe um if you even choose just not to go anywhere really far, we could probably even go to I wonder if going to Yogyakarta would make sense. So you can see this is the reason why I even wanted to consider it, because it has this wonderful temple. Yeah. Okay, never mind. So if let's say I wanted to go to Yogyakarta, what time would I want to go to? I can just search it this way. What's the best time to visit it? It usually helps because yeah. So apparently the best time is in October, May until October and December. Well, I guess maybe December might work. So you'll just say Yogyakarta. Anyway, I'm not that particular about the temperature. I'm fine with Singapore temperatures too. Okay, so anyway, it will probably be in the budget as well. And next would be how you can go there. The thing is, this was the hardest thing to do with regards to Yogyakarta. And the reason is because the location of Yogyakarta, if you want, I can show it to you in the maps. Let me just remove this. For some reason, it's still showing all of these, travel things. As you can see, it's like in the middle of somewhere, and you want to know where there's a airport. There is a Yogyakarta airport. Yes, there's a airport here, and the thing is, apparently there's not a lot of flights to this airport. Even in 2018, there weren't that many flights. So yeah, that'll be an issue later on, but we'll look at that later on. So yeah, the best way to go is through airplane because it's not somewhere you can really go to in a boat. It's quite inland. So yeah, that's about it. I think we answered most of the questions. So we finished all the questions in like 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much how you should start before you even plan the trip. And the reason why I say the city and not the country, because imagine if I said Indonesia. Indonesia is really huge if you think about it. Indonesia itself has so many destinations, as you can see. Um, yeah, I mean, you're going to places like this area here is also Indonesia. This area here is also Indonesia, and it's super close to Singapore. So technically, it's not that hard to do. I think another thing you can consider is whether your visa policy will work with it. If you don't want to pay for visa, then Indonesia is a good place to go. But the problem is Indonesia is also having a bit of a hard time with the pandemic. So maybe December may also be a bit too early. Like next December, that is. I don't know. We'll see. This is just an example. I probably won't do this. Yeah. Uh yeah, let's get back to the end of the video, that is. Yeah. Alright, folks, I hope this episode has sparked your desires to go somewhere. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait for things to become better before any traveling is to be done. It is altogether important to stay healthy and keep everyone else healthy too. So let's all wait for things to improve, yeah? So if you found this video useful, please press that like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.